Is that a trick question? This man was a bona fide scrub. Bona fide scrub.
This dude, I believe he's a bona fide superstar right now.
Right, oh, well, of course, it's all about winning, baby.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephen A, and welcome to the inaugural episode of the Star and Scrub NBA podcast. My name is Peter O'Keefe. I'm here with Lieven Dimani, my great mate, and I'm happy to concede in this situation that when it comes to playing abilities on court on the basketball floor, I am definitely the scrub, and you are the star. Happy to agree to that, mate?
Not so much. I reckon we're pretty equal in terms of sporting knowledge, mate, but I couldn't be more excited to be doing this. So many exciting new segments we're going to be adding in, and doing a podcast with my best mate for talking all things basketball. It's a great time. You excited? You nervous? You anxious? How you feeling?
Yeah, so we've decided to go off and do our own thing. So thank you very much to Ben Travers and Inside Feed for the kind of first season that we had over the course of this NBA season that's just passed. So we thank him for all his help, but we thought we'd go off and do our own thing. I think Lee has taken the advice or the notions from his favourite player, LeBron James, and at the end of this NBA season that just passed, the culmination of the season ended that meant that we had podcast free agency, and I think Lee's decided to exercise his rights, and he got me on board as well to go and join something else and make something different ourselves. But yes, we do have a few things going on for this episode and moving forward. So for this episode, we're going to look a lot at the NBA draft that's coming up on Friday, recording this on Wednesday night. I think the Boomers are just about to start, by the way. Did you know that? Did you know we're missing that?
I did.
Slightly disappointing. Maybe we can get back for the second half of that Boomers game against Italy. But yeah, we're going to have a look at the draft. Then we're going to have a couple of other segments. The star and scrub of the episode. So obviously named after this episode, this podcast, I guess. But we're going to have our own segment on that. We're also going to have NBA Nuffie Nomination and also Punts of the pod as well. But before we get into it, Lee, I just wanted to quickly ask you, what is like the best thing that you've ever done on a basketball court? Because we are calling you the star here. What's the best thing that you've ever done? Is it a particular move? Have you hit a game winner? What is it?
Star of Div 2 Social League Basketball, I need to clarify, mate. But easily, I reckon with a great mate of ours, Alec Bastic, there was a little play that we ran towards the end of the game. It was a give and go, and it was a go-ahead basket. Won us the game. Probably the best feeling. Had my great mates around me, so that would have to be. You and I played basketball in the past. Do you have a best moment, a highlight, a step back three, something?
Oh, it's very minimal, mate. The best thing I've ever done, I think, and the most... It's not very good, but it's quite heroic, and it's something I'll be telling my grandkids, in 50, 60 years' time, is I broke my elbow one night after a few too many beers, had elbow surgery, was supposed to be in a cast for 6 weeks, went to watch the boys. I think you might have been playing. Went to watch the boys play. I think we were Division 7, social basketball. It was, and I mean, Division 7 in New South Wales or Victoria or elsewhere in Australia might sound like it doesn't sound good there, but let alone being in Tassie, where obviously a lower population. But I went and watched the boys about a month after my surgery. Obviously, still supposed to be a couple of weeks before I'm even out of the cast. The boys were a bit short, and I got out there, and I tell you what. Every time someone passed me the ball, I'd catch it. The jarring on my elbow was just really bad. But the greatest thing was that I actually made a right-handed layup as my first basket, having broke my right elbow 4 weeks after surgery. So that's the most heroic thing I think I've done on a basketball court, to be honest. It's not very high, and I guess that's why I'm the scrub. But let's move on to the NBA draft, Friday morning Australian time. We're going to do a little bit of a mock here and take in turns from 1 to 10. We're just going to go to top 10. Have you done a little bit of research for this? Do you think you know what you're talking about?
I've been very high on this NBA draft, actually. My brothers and I have always loved the NBA draft from players we watched since high school, and I've done a bit more in-depth research, obviously, for this episode, and it's a deep and possibly franchise-altering draft. So how much have you been kept up with the draft throughout this season? Did you get to see much, watch much?
Yeah, not a whole lot, but then it's really ramped up probably over the past probably 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe, especially after the draft lottery where it obviously came out that the Warriors would have picks 7 and 14. I'm glad you're keeping up with it, even though the Heat don't have a lottery pick. But yeah, for the Warriors, do they trade the picks? Do they take them? Who do they take? There's a lot of question marks going on them and all these other teams, really. But we're going to go through the top 10, and I've bullied you into going first because that means that I then get to take the Warriors pick at pick 7. So I'll take 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. You'll take 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So let's jump into it with the first pick of the 2021 NBA draft. I think the Detroit Pistons will select Cade Cunningham. I think he's $1.03 on Sportsbet, to be honest. It's a pretty obvious call. I mean, I've listened to hours and hours of podcasts and different analysts and whatnot discuss this. I think it's a lot closer than what the $1.03 would suggest. I certainly wouldn't be putting money on it, obviously. But, I think there's some certain arguments for Evan Mobley, especially, to potentially be taken at this number 1 pick. But in Cade Cunningham, I mean, you're getting a guy, 6'8" point guard, which is, those taller type point guards we saw with LaMelo Ball last season. That's really the future of the NBA. Someone that can really run your offense, create off the dribble, not only for himself, but for teammates. I mean, he's not necessarily known as an elite defender or even a great defender at this stage, but, with that 6'8", size and with the athleticism, I think in time he can become a really, really good perimeter defender and a guy that's switchable, 1 through 4 as well. So I think for a GM in this situation, the consensus number 1 pick is Cade Cunningham, and the easiest thing to do is to take him, and then you don't really have to worry about it because at the end of the day, if he turns into a scrub, 3 or 4 years down the track, then you can basically say, oh, well, he was the consensus number 1 pick. I didn't take a risk as such. This was the general take from everyone. So I think it's the safest pick to take. Will he be the best player from the draft? I'm not so sure, but I think he's definitely going to be an all-star-ish caliber player at a minimum.
I couldn't agree with absolutely everything you've just said there, and God, Detroit needs something like this, mate. The poor structure of their roster, the deplorable game style that they play, they needed something like a Cade Cunningham. Just don't overthink this one, I think. Just go straight to Cade Cunningham, and 6'8" ball handler, he's perfect as a number 1 pick.
Yeah.
What you said as the best player in the draft, though, whether he will be, at number 2, the Houston Rockets obviously have the next pick, Evan Mobley. I think Cade Cunningham is the number 1 pick, but Evan Mobley will be the best player from this draft. I think he's absolutely everything you want in today's NBA. You can attest to this. I've been saying it's a big man's league. It's going to turn into a big man's league soon. And I think
you have been saying it all season.
And a stretch 5 two-way guy that he's the measurable, just that 7-footer, runs the floor, incredibly mobile, rim protects. I mean, he'll get 8 to 10 points every night just from lobs, just from running the floor, putback dunks, second chance points. And I've seen a little bit of tape around him that he's got some playmaking ability. I've seen he can hit the open 3. So I think he will be the best player to come out of this draft. And there's obviously arguments. Obviously, you got Christian Wood there, but I don't think I'd take Evan Mobley over Christian Wood as we speak today. I think that he's only 18, 19? What's Evan Mobley? 18, 19?
Yeah, 19.
19, and he's, I think he's, the potential that he has is sky high, and Christian Wood's on an incredible and probably good contract as well, so you can get rid of him when you need to. So,
I love this. I love this thought that you don't take a particular guy at number 2 because of Christian Wood or these kind of types, or you don't take a guard for the Cavs at pick 3 because they've got Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. Like, we're not talking about Hall of Fame players. If you're the Warriors last year and you're kind of weighing up between Wiseman and Ball and you decide to take Wiseman because you've got Steph Curry, then fair enough. Fair enough. Steph Curry's a Hall of Fame basketball player. He's a Hall of Famer. Christian Wood is not at that level. Stop saying, oh, we can't take Mobley because, Christian Wood's there. Like, please, he had a great season. He'll be a great player. He's not a Hall of Famer. Come on, guys. So, yeah, I think Mobley's going number 2 as well. He's also, you talk about a big man's league, but some of these big guys we see, come deep playoff time, they can get pushed off the court because they can't hang defensively and they become a defensive liability. You're not going to have that worry with Evan Mobley. 7 foot tall, but really good athleticism, and can guard out on the perimeter, or will be able to guard out in the perimeter if need be. And that's also another reason why I think you could potentially have him and Christian Wood in the same front court together. I don't think Mobley's necessarily pigeonholed as a center. I think he can play the power forward position. And I did hear a podcast a week or so back. I can't remember whose it was, but one analyst actually had him as a potential small forward in the future at 7 feet tall.
Right.
Not sure if that materialises, but the fact that it's even being spoke about is pretty big in itself.
His versatility, just to have that base of a player that can play, that you can keep on the court. I mean, we've seen how many players like Rudy Gobert, that for all they are, they can actually be useless towards the end of a game. So if you can have your big man out of there, and you and I discussed how how much Giannis was able to impact a game just based off his physicality, those tools that he had, and he just some things that some players just can't do. So Evan Mobley, I think, will be one to watch for a long time. I'm very excited to see what he brings to Houston.
Alrighty, with the third overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to select Jalen Green, 6'5" shooting guard. I've heard a few comparisons here with Zach LaVine as a really athletic type, can get to the rim, will in time become a pretty good perimeter shooter as well. So highly skilled guy. I guess those same question marks that Zach LaVine has, how much is he an empty calorie guy? How much can he actually impact winning at the next level in the NBA? But general consensus is that this guy is going to be a 25 point per game scorer throughout his NBA career. He's going to be able to contribute a little bit from next season. And as I said, he's going to be a high-level scorer, I think, moving forward.
He'll be a highlight reel just the same way Zach LaVine is. I was most impressed the fact that he went G League and transitioned very well. The NBA three-point line, NBA systems, playing against NBA players. So I think his transition will be easy, and I think it's a pretty safe pick moving forward in terms of how guarantee is. So,
do you think with obviously Jalen Green, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, do you expect, I mean, the talk is Colin Sexton at the moment, do you expect him to be moved even potentially before the draft on Friday morning?
I think he will be probably the safest to think that he will not be playing for Cleveland next year. I think they were Garland, and if you got Green, I think he'll be all right. So, no, he'll definitely be.
Yeah, it's going to be a funny situation with Colin Sexton because he's eligible for a contract extension, still on his rookie contract. I mean, how much do you pay the guy? And I kind of look at like Lonzo Ball and how much he may get in this offseason. And I feel how much he gets could be a determination of how much Colin Sexton gets in 12 months' time, because I feel like they're a similar value player. I don't know, he puts up buckets, Colin Sexton, but unless Mobley falls, then there obviously is going to be an odd man out there, and there's going to be three guards that should be starting, I guess, on that Cleveland team. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but you've got the next pick here with the Toronto Raptors.
Jalen Suggs is the answer to the Toronto Raptors. I think Kyle Lowry will be playing for another team next year, and what a way to reload with Jalen Suggs. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Jamal Murray, these sort of lead guards with incredible just ability to score and just play make for players. When you have a chance, watch his ability to create open shots for people. He has an incredible defensive side to his game as well. So the 6'5" size is big, strong, and a lot of people talk about his leadership abilities. So if you're the Toronto Raptors, you want a way to reload. You've won your championship. Now time to go young and start again. Jalen Suggs is a fantastic answer, and I think that is a pretty safe and quick decision that the Toronto Raptors will be making. Did you get to see much of Jalen Suggs, or what were you reading about him?
Yeah, I've seen and heard a little bit about him, and yeah, everything you said is fairly spot on. I think it's a fantastic move, I guess, for the Raptors. Yes, it's disappointing to lose one of the franchise's best ever players in Kyle Lowry, but to basically replace him with Jalen Suggs, I think is a pretty good option. Where Lowry goes, we'll wait and see, but I think from the Raptors, I wouldn't be stressing too much on, paying Kyle big bucks when you know that you can just bring in Suggs and basically replace him, and that can be your backcourt with Fred VanVleet. Moving on, the Magic with the 5th overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft. I'm selecting Scotty Barnes, a 6'9". We're going to call him a forward. That's kind of the consensus, but this is one of the most interesting players, I think, in this top 10 for mine. This guy could be anything. Now, defensively, we know what he is. He's probably the best defender, or at least the most versatile defender in this draft class. he's got an ability to basically, guard point guards, 90 feet from the basket and really, kind of full on press there. But he's also not going to be, mismatched if he's coming up against a big guy in the post. Like, he can literally will be able to guard 1 through 5 without any issue. 6'9", he's got a 7'3" wingspan. The versatility there on defense is going to be absolutely insane. It's the offensive side of the ball. Now, in college this past season, he played point guard. Now, he's got that kind of Draymond Green factor of being able to ball handle and play make for you and push the ball in transition. Now, the issue with Scotty Barnes and the deciphering factor on whether this guy's a good solid NBA player or a genuine superstar is the shot, because I've watched a lot of YouTube highlights and games of him, and that shot looks disgusting. I'm putting it out there. It looks disgusting. I think he shot 29%, maybe 28% from 3 in college last season. But, I mean, you look at that shot, there's guys that shoot, like James Bouknight, I'm sure we'll talk about. He shot under 30% from 3 in college, but he's got a good-looking jump shot that you think, he can improve on and get up to, late 30s kind of in the NBA at some point in the next couple of years. Scotty Barnes, like, his shot needs reworking. Like, that needs to be built again from the ground up, because that's just... it's not doing a whole lot for me. So the ability, I guess, for him to score and to shoot is going to be the thing that is the determining factor on whether or not this guy is just a really elite defender and a good solid player, or like a genuine star in this league.
I reckon all drafts have a sort of boom or bust product, and I think he's either going to be an elite player or just this, do-it-all forward that's serviceable. I think his base, 6'9", 225, guards 1 to 5 and can play make. What a base to build of. And I think just being in an NBA system is what's going to fix him. My only fear is it is the Orlando Magic. Young people's careers just do not develop, and something like him, I think he's going to be stiff by going there where they can't develop and get someone to teach him how to win properly and fix his jump shot. And actually, we as fans almost miss out there. So, but I think at his best, imagine him a front court with him and Jonathan Isaac. Think about the versatility that is.
The defense, wow, that could be insane.
You won't score on them. So
yeah, the other issue with the Magic is they've got no shooting. They have just got no... You think of, like, Markelle Fultz. You think Isaac's, going to be an all-right shooter kind of thing, but he's not an elite shooter. You chuck in a center kind of Wendell Carter Jr., who might hit from the outside occasionally, but isn't a three-point shooter. I mean, you chuck Scotty Barnes into that mix to a starting lineup, there's just no shooting whatsoever. So that's the other issue for the Magic. But I think his talent and that base you speak about on the defensive end, and then the ball handling and playmaking ability on offense, I think you've got to take him.
Yeah, I just hope the best for him, to be honest, mate. I really hope Orlando gets some good level, high coaching and veterans there. The 6th pick is actually a teammate of Jalen Green. Join him in the G League. His name is Jonathan Kuminga. 6'8", 227-foot wingspan. What are they feeding these? At 18 years old to be 6'8", 220. I certainly was not that at the 8. I think he's another.
You've never been that. Don't try and tell people you've been 6'8".
In my life.
Not at that age.
18.
Stop saying at that age, mate. You're not 6'8" in general. You're quite tall, but not quite 6'8".
My player is anyway on 2K, but I think he's such a safe pick in terms of people like him, Jeff Green, OG. I think the high end guys are more like the Mikal Bridges and stuff. These sort of do-it-all forwards end up having long careers because they can play both 4 positions. In some cases, even play the 5-man in small ball situations. Big, strong guy. There's question marks around his shooting mechanics and his IQ for the game, but I think you just learn that by being in an NBA environment. Mate, I think he's a very safe pick, and I think the fact that he was in G League, as I mentioned before, he's already been exposed a little bit to the NBA game. So, yeah, Jonathan Kuminga at the 6th pick is my selection. Do you have any thoughts on him? Did you...
Well, you just called him a safe pick. I think he's the exact opposite. Opposite? Yeah, I think he's. So you just talked about Scotty Barnes being a boom or bust. Like, I think Jonathan Kuminga's the boom or bust type. He could be. Would it surprise me if he's out of the league in 5 or 6 seasons? No. Would it surprise me if he's an all-star? Yeah, like, would it surprise me if he's an all-star in 5 or 6 seasons? Absolutely not. Like, he's another one who could potentially be at the very top, the very best of this draft, but he could also be a genuine scrub who is out of the league very soon. Like, he's got all the makeup and tools from a physical, athletic standpoint, But he was very dominant in high school, but I think that was more of a case of he was just bigger up than everyone else kind of thing. I mean, the G League, he was okay. He was 15 points a game, which is not too bad, but his shooting percentages were quite poor. He only shot 24% from three, I believe, in the G League bubble there. But, I mean, good on him for having a crack there anyway, alongside Jalen Green. But, yeah, I think he's a boom or bust type. My more interesting thing with him is I think he's actually going to slip to the Warriors at 7, and the question mark is whether or not the Warriors take him at 7, because I think he's a really raw type in terms of immediate contributors. I don't think he's only 18 years of age. I think he's actually kind of moved up a year. He could have potentially waited until next year and got drafted and played another season, whether it be at college or at the G League kind of thing. I think as a raw product, not necessarily ready to contribute right away. You know, do the Warriors take him knowing that they're trying to win a championship and store him away for a year? I don't know, but unfortunately, you've taken Jonathan Kuminga at pick 6, so now my Warriors on the board at pick 7 in the draft. There's a couple of guys here. To be honest, if Kuminga slides, then I think they take Kuminga just because of the upside value for the potential that he has. I think you've just got to take him. As much as you might want to take a guy who's going to have an ability to contribute more right away, I think you've just got to take Kuminga. You've taken Kuminga in this little mock we're doing, so I'll move on from him. I think it's out of two guys here, to be honest. I think the first one would be James Bouknight, a kind of 6'5" two guard who's got a really great ability to create his own shot, get to the rim. I spoke about his the fact that he only shot 29% from 3 in college, but I think you look at his shot and it's probably a lot better than that 29% suggests. And he also apparently shot the lights out come the kind of training camps and the combines that they've done. Apparently absolutely shot the lights out in all the practices that he's done. So he's moving up draft boards to the point where I actually think he's probably going to be taken by the Thunder at 6 and Kuminga might fall to 7. But the other guy, if there's Bouknight available at pick 7, the other guy that I think the Warriors might take, and it's 50-50 between Bouknight and this guy. I might even have Bouknight in front, but just for the Warriors' needs, I'm going to take this guy. That's Franz Wagner, who's a 6'9" forward.
Love him.
And I just think for the Warriors' needs, they're really quite light on at the wing position. They've got Andrew Wiggins, and then off the bench, you know, your Juan Toscano Anderson types. Like, there's just not much there in terms of wing depth at the Warriors. And Franz Wagner, I think, is this kind of 3-and-D guy who can also develop into something a bit more. I think he's got the capability to be a bit of a, you know, secondary playmaker, ball handler kind of thing, especially if he's, he'll be coming off the bench to start with for the Warriors. I think he's a guy right away that can contribute for, 20 minutes a night off the bench. So he's going to give you a little bit here and there. But in saying that, I think I want to stress to Warriors fans, don't expect any of these guys that they take at pick 7 to be massive contributors to the point where they're the difference between whether you're a championship contention or not. Like, that's just not going to be the case. But I think Wagner, 6'9" forward with the ability to, I think he just fits really well in that system where you need a guy who can hit an open three, can defend to a higher level on that side of the floor, and also on offense, he can move the ball. Like, he's not going to be a ball stopper. He'll make the right plays. He'll make the right feeds to the open guys. So he's a guy for me. If it came down to him and Bouknight's a guy for me that I just think is really similar to Jordan Poole, who the Warriors already have. And for me, do you necessarily need Poole and Bouknight as your backup guards off the bench? Do you need both of them? Probably not, so that's why I'm taking Wagner.
I love Wagner for the Warriors system particularly. 6'9", 220, sort of Swiss Army knife sort of forwards. And I think, yeah, they're part of, like, I've lauded about Mikal Bridges throughout the Western playoffs, and I think someone like that does a little bit of everything. His defense, switching onto so many different positions, and I've heard people call Draymond a sort of a free safety. I think it's an NFL reference, but that he can just make weak side blocks and he can sort of conduct a defense. I saw a lot of that him at Michigan, so I think they're great selections there. So
I think just quickly, sorry, before you move on, I think I can definitely, from a Warrior standpoint, I can definitely see a lineup towards the end of next season, clutch minutes down the stretch that has kind of Steph, Clay, Wiggins, assuming they don't make any trades, Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Wagner, and Draymond kind of as a closing five, which I don't mind the sound of. A pretty switchable, versatile defensive lineup there with, enough, obviously outside of Draymond, there's probably enough shooting there as well. So I kind of like the thought of that lineup as well.
I've hated the Warriors for many years, but I'm excited for what you're going to do over these next few months in free agency.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure.
It'll be interesting, to say the very least. At a pick that is a bit of a... You didn't actually have on your big board, as I mentioned. His name is Kai Jones, is the next one. He's a 6'11", 220 big man. He's from Texas, and he only started playing basketball at 15 years of age, but his potential is sky high. Talking about that mold of a big man that can stay on the court the entire time. He can very versatile, mobile sort of guy, and I think where a lot of their lure comes from, he can obviously run the floor, he can block shots, lob threats, everything, but it's his outside game. He can actually hit an open three. He shot 38% from three in college, and it was only like 3 attempts a game, so take that as you will. But I think if I've got a big man that I know is going to be hitting 2 threes a game, defending the paint and can run the floor, I think that's incredible. If I don't have an Embiid or a Jokic, those top tier big men, I can get someone like that. I think that's amazing. So I think the fact he only just started playing a few years ago, and he's already at this stage of his career. And I think, as I said, 24/7 in an NBA environment, playing with NBA coaches and players, I think Kai Jones as a rim running big is someone that is certainly worth looking. I think he's my sleeper that I'll be certainly watching moving forward.
What do you think of him so you're taking that's the Magic with pick 8. So you've taken, I took Scotty Barnes and you've taken Kai Jones there. Are you happy with that duo from the draft if you're a Magic fan?
I think so. You've got the time too. So we laugh at Orlando anyway. We don't expect them to be doing anything worthwhile. So you got Markel Fultz as well, who's going to be coming back, you'd think. He needs to get himself right. So, yeah, Kai Jones is his name.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let's move on because I'm really excited. Pick 9 for the Sacramento Kings. This is a tough one for me. This is a real tough one, but I have to take him because I can guarantee he's not slipping to pick 9 come Friday morning in the real draft. That's James Bouknight, who I've already spoken about at length. As I said, 6'5", kind of combo guard, more of just a flat-out scorer at this stage. I think he can contribute right away off an NBA bench, just being able to basically get your buckets. Kind of heard a comparison on a podcast this afternoon, a Jordan Clarkson type player, and we obviously saw what Jordan Clarkson was able to do in Utah. The question marks on him are more the defensive side of the ball, but he's got enough size and enough athleticism to say that he might be reasonable enough, at least down the track. And I guess just that playmaking aspect as well. Can he become a real combo guard, or is he more of just that flat-out pure scorer like a Jordan Clarkson is? But I think pick 9, I know you've got De'Aaron Fox at the Kings. I know you've drafted Tyrese Halliburton. You're kind of set there. You've still got Buddy Hield at the moment, although I kind of expect him to be traded. But if he's available at pick 9, I've just got to take James Bouknight.
I love just watching him, and Jordan Clarkson I think is the only comparison. I think if he's lucky enough to get to a team where he's like Jordan Clarkson, got the green light, comes off the bench, shoots as much as he wants, and especially if he can get to a young team like the Kings, who don't really have a plan at the moment, so he's got time to develop and get his game right. I think James Bouknight is 6'5", 190 and scores from everywhere. You wanted to... I actually didn't have him on my draft big board, but Josh Giddey, Australian forward playmaker. You had some thoughts about him that you wanted to tell me about.
So are we just jumping? You're not taking him at Memphis?
Josh Giddey.
Right.
He's been rising in everything I'm seeing on social media. His draft stock is going through the roof at the moment. So
would you take him? So you've got pick 10 here, which is now the Memphis Grizzlies. For those that don't know, have been living under a rock. Yesterday morning, woke up to the news that the Grizzlies and Pelicans had organised a trade, sending Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe to the Grizzlies, Jonas Valanciunas to the Pelicans. They also swapped picks 17 and 10 and 40 and 51, I think, as well. So the Grizzlies have moved up to pick 10, which was originally the Pelicans. Are you taking Josh Giddey at the Grizzlies? Because apparently that's one of the reasons why they may have moved up, to get Josh Giddey as kind of a guy that they can put next to Ja Morant.
I don't see it. You've got slow-mo Cole Anderson, who does the same thing. So I don't know. Like, and
Okay.
I think there are question. I think the Josh Giddey, for his talent, his playmaking, I think there were question marks around his jump shot, even just things like the mechanics of his jump shot. And Ja Morant, who needs as much spacing as possible, I think. And now you've got Steven Adams, whether or not he stays there, who knows? But yeah, if you're going to have someone restricted to the paint like Steven Adams, you need a lot of floor spacing. So, would you take Josh Giddey at the Memphis Grizzlies?
Well, that's the talk at the moment, that the Grizzlies moved up to try and get Josh Giddey, but I agree, it doesn't make any sense. Ja Morant's not a great three-point shooter. Adams is restricted to the paint. You've got guys like Kyle Anderson, who's okay from the perimeter. Jaren Jackson Jr. is actually pretty good from the perimeter, but to me, it just doesn't fit into that team too well when right now, Josh Giddey is going to be a guy that can run a team, especially off the bench in terms of playmaking, ball handling, getting guys open, getting guys buckets. Probably the best passer playmaker in this draft. But there are question marks on his ability to score the ball, his ability to shoot the ball, obviously. I mean, those mechanics you talk about, I don't think they're Scotty Barnes bad. They're not that horrific. But there's you can work on it, and he can become a reliable. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite three-point shooter, but I think he can be a reliable three-point shooter. And also the defense. I mean, he's 6'8", 6'9". You know, he's got some athleticism kind of thing, but his movement laterally isn't great at the moment, and being able to stay in front of those kind of really quick, agile point guards might be a bit of a stretch and struggle for him early on. Look, I don't know. He's probably at the end of my top 10, but yeah, I tend to agree that the fit at the Grizzlies isn't great, to be totally honest. But, I mean, everything you hear in terms of mock drafts and news over the last couple of days has him going top 10, to be honest. So, I don't know.
Well, great for Australian basketball, great for Australian fans. And
That's
if
true.
we're going to have a lottery pick, that's absolutely wonderful. And
I think he's definitely going to the lottery. He's definitely going top 14, that's for sure. Whether he's going top 10 or not. He seems to be continuing to move up, so if I had to put money on it, I'd probably say he's top 10. I think he's pretty short to actually be in the top 10.
Cool. That's fantastic for Australian basketball, and must be doing well in all these interviews. So let's see. But I think this draft is going to be this kickstart the rest of this off season, and how crazy. I think OKC will make so many trades this draft day, and who knows what will happen this Friday? Who knows?
Do you have a pick 10 for us, or are you taking Giddey? Because I just took Book Night at pick 9.
I did more prospects, and Giddey was going to be my 10th prospect. So I think, he's the do-it-all forward. He's certainly my 10th prospect.
All right, no worries. Next up, we'll get into a few new segments, the star and scrub of the podcast, the NBA Nuffie's nomination, and punt of the pod. That's next. Alrighty, new segment here on the Star and Scrub podcast, named after the name of the podcast, Star and Scrub segment. So basically, we're going to go through what we thought was, has been a star in the past few days or in the past week, and also a scrub, someone that's struggling at the moment or has just had a really disappointing result or whatnot. So Lee did come to me and asked whether this has to be solely basketball related, and I said kind of fuck it, just go with whatever you want. So Lee, let's get it underway with this.
Bonafide superstar.
All right, bonafide superstar, give it to me.
Superstars of all sports, I think. Starting back with Naomi Osaka a few months ago, and now Simone Biles, the gymnast as well, who both recently took breaks for their mental health. They just said, listen, I'm not in the right state to perform. They talked about pressures, and I think I have to tip my hat off to them. It's pretty easy to sit on a couch and laugh at them and thinking they're taking this time off, but I think for them, the pressure they face, they've been training for decades, and the pressure to perform on an Olympic stage, I think it is mind-boggling. And for them to say, you know what, obviously I make millions of dollars, my life from the outside looks great, but I actually need this time to take off. And I'm actually surprised it doesn't happen more to athletes. I can't even imagine what it would be I've seen some of the comments people leave on their Instagrams and stuff, and the pressure it is to have a whole country behind you. So Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, and any athlete actually that's taking the time to say, you know what, the money's great and everything, but I need this time for myself. So they are certainly my stars of the past few months and days.
Yeah, it's a very controversial one. There's a couple of different takes. I'm with you. I think modern kind of take and I guess modern age, you've got to understand that this is a real issue and people want to talk about it a lot more, which is great. And, athletes are willing to do this, which is absolutely fantastic. You got to look after your health first, whether it be physically, mentally, whatever it is. There's a bit of a difference, though, I feel, about Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles. Like, Biles, I'm more than happy, like, absolutely fantastic. Like, that's such a courageous and tough thing to do when you're in the middle of Olympic competition. And that's no worries. Osaka, for me, was a bit weird because at no stage did Biles ever try and, like, blame anyone for her mental health issues. Like, it was just, look, I'm feeling the pressure. Like, this is Olympic competition, and I just don't think I can perform. And that's perfectly understandable. I just don't get why Naomi Osaka came out and tried to blame journalists and, getting interviewed and having to answer questions as a reason for her mental health. Like, people don't... People on social media will badmouth athletes and tweet them and hate on them and whatnot. Journalists don't do that. If you come into a press conference after you've played a bad game, journalists don't go, "Oh, geez, Naomi, you were flat out shithouse today. What the hell was wrong with you?" Like, they don't have a crack at you in the press conference. So for me, it was a bit of a strange one a couple of months ago when she was basically coming out and saying, like, the reason for my mental health issues is journalists and reporters and all these press conferences that I have to do, and I'm going on a press conference boycott. Like, for me, if you want to be paid the big bucks, which you do, which is millions and millions of dollars, that is produced by the media companies and us as fans who watch the game. That's just a part and parcel of it. I mean, if you don't want to do the press conferences, then you don't play. Like, and you don't earn those big bucks. That's just part and parcel of it. You can't pick and choose in those situations. So I think, Simone Biles came out, had her press conference, was really open to everyone, and I thought it was really courageous. I just thought Osaka's one from a couple of months ago just wasn't really the same, to be honest.
Who knows their mental state and how it came out for them, but I think either way it's brave in any capacity to just say, no, you know what, I can't do this. So there's certainly my stars. My scrub, though, is one that is probably a bit weird to talk about. There's always been a bit of pain in my side, Greg Popovich being a Miami Heat fan, and the battles that the Spurs and the Heat had in the early 2010s, but he's my scrub lately. How much he's been losing for the Team USA? I think he is the worst USA head coach, and it boggles. In every game he's lost, he's had a landslide in terms of how much talent he has compared to the other team. And I've heard there's stories I've read online that he's trying to play this Spurs system basketball. Basketball is a sport where one player can just beat the entire team. That's really simple. And I think he needs to just he's got world-class athletes and the best NBA players in the world, basketball players in the world, and he won't just let them play. I saw that Luka game that he had 48 or whatever. I think Luka got to do whatever he wanted. And you've got Kevin Durant on the court, Damian Lillard. Don't try and play this.
They didn't play against Luka, though, when Luka had that 40. Are you talking about for Slovenia?
For Slovenia. I'm talking about the numbers they could put up. I haven't seen one USA
Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, fair enough.
I haven't seen one USA player put up.
So you're saying Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, someone there should be having 40 plus points.
They should be. They have to, and it looks like actually. Well, they won today as well. But Greg Popovich, for a guy that's a top tier coach, in fact, probably one of the greatest coaches of all time in any sport, to be honest, to be losing this badly, this embarrassingly, and you've got this type of talent, you've got this Ferrari, you don't know how to drive it. So Greg Popovich, you're the scrub.
I mean. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Lee has said that Greg Popovich, the worst US head coach in history, and when it comes to coaching Team USA,
Bonafide scrub.
That is him. He's a bona fide scrub, apparently. I mean, for what it's worth, they absolutely smashed Iran today, although Iran just aren't much chop. But, I mean, losing to us and Nigeria in warm-up games is one thing, but then going to lose to France when you got a 7-point lead with 3 minutes to go, not sure what is happening there. My star is Paddy Mills. I mean, just the fact that he was obviously a flag bearer for Australia, just so proud that he was given that opportunity and able to walk out next to Kate Campbell. Absolutely fantastic. But even then, I'm not sure how he's going at the moment. I think we're probably nearly half-time as we're recording this, so I'm not sure how he's going. But I'm assuming he's probably going all right, because that first game that he played against the Nigerians, he just stepped up big time. When the game was kind of in the balance, maybe in the third quarter and early in the last, he just separated the teams with some big buckets. And it's kind of crazy. I feel a bit bad for him, that the fact that he can come to the Olympics and national competition and absolutely dominate and kind of run the offense like he does, and then he just goes back to the NBA and he's kind of a bit piece kind of thing. He just doesn't have the responsibility. He's a free agent. I kind of wouldn't mind him just to see what he could do at NBA level if he went to a team where he was just provided with a bit more responsibility to do the kind of things that he's doing with Australia right now. Any thoughts on Paddy Mills?
Paddy Mills is the humblest bloke, I reckon, across any sport I watch. He's a genuine just champion. He obviously is quite literally good champion, but just a great bloke. Flag bearing was definitely the best person to bear that flag, and I think he's got a habit of terrorising international play. So I hope he's got a big Olympics ahead of him, and yeah, it's definitely a superstar in every regard. That's for sure.
That's for sure. My scrub of this episode, I watched the full game of the Australian Opals, obviously the ladies basketball team, last night. They came up against Belgium. They were pretty not great in the first quarter, but they got things together in the second quarter, took a lead into halftime, thought they'd kind of run away with it and win comfortably. They got blown out in the last quarter, could not make a bucket. And, I mean, this is the Olympics we're talking about, and I just thought the intensity level of this team, I know you're missing Liz Cambage, there might be some team problems going on there, but just the intensity level, I mean, this is Olympic-level basketball. Just, ladies, just bring the heat a little bit more, please. Like, the amount of, missed box outs and, not getting the defensive reboundings, that's one thing. Another thing's, the sloppy turnovers and just poor passes. Just really lacking in intensity. They just got blown out at the end. They could not make a bucket. Magbagor was really good in the first half. They just didn't get the ball to her in the second half. Not sure what was going on there. They couldn't score a bucket. Did you watch that game at all?
I only did get to watch it, but I just heard about it as well, and I heard many very, very basic things that caused them to lose.
Yeah.
So,
just a really, really disappointing performance. Hopefully I think the next game's against China, so hopefully they can rebound there. Anyway, on to the next segment. We're going to have a new one here. NBA Nuffie's nomination. Now, Lee and I are going to provide one thing each from the past few days, the past week, that we just think is just crazy, silly, weird, whatever it is, Nuffie worthy. And I might even chuck it up on socials and we can vote on who was the biggest Nuffie for the episode. And we might get a round of the best ones come 12 months' time at the end of the NBA season. But I'll start us off here with... Well, I'm going to say Kevin Love could have been a Nuffie to begin with, because Kevin Love just, decided to put his hand up for the Olympics and then played in Vegas in those warm-up games a little bit and then just decided to leave the team. I think he might have had a slight injury issue, but I don't know what was going on there. He should never have been in the team to begin with. Anyway, they're looking for replacements, and up pops his hand, JaVale McGee. Obviously, been on Shaqtin' a Fool. Now, I'm not Nuffieing JaVale McGee. Good on JaVale McGee, absolutely fantastic. But when you get involved in Team USA and when you get picked in the team and you're doing a press conference for it, this is not the kind of question you expect to ask.
Hey, JaVale, welcome aboard. I'm not sure. Is your mom still with us?
My mom alive? Yeah, she's still alive.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's a weird question to ask somebody, but.
Oh my God.
What? Look, I've done a journalism degree. I'm not currently a professional journalist, but I think anyone with one brain cell could suggest that that's probably not the question you ask someone. Is their mum still alive? Do we really? The guy's just been picked to represent his country in the Olympics, and you're asking if his mum is still alive or not. I mean, come on, guys. What's going on there?
Well, he started off with welcome aboard. I thought it'd say, how are you? How are you selling into camp, maybe? But he's gone, no. Is your mum still with us? So,
I'm glad. Let's just say I'm glad she's actually alive, because how awkward would it have been if she actually passed away and he's asked, oh my goodness. Anyway, have you got a NBA Nuffie nomination for us?
I do have a Nuffie, and he goes by the name of PJ Tucker, NBA champion PJ Tucker, I should say. Recently, they had their championship parade. It looked like a big party, and as we can see, he had a few beers beforehand, and they asked him to get up and just talk about his role on the team. Just see, when you got traded there, they said, PJ Tucker, what sort of role and what sort of environment would you bring to the Milwaukee Bucks? And this was his response.
When I came in, they're like, yo, you gotta like show, like you gotta be the dog. And I'm like, man, we got dogs. Like they just ain't, like we, like I got here, like we already got dogs. They just don't know how to be dogs, and we gonna be dogs. And our dogs is crazy. We got dogs, you hear me? Milwaukee, we dogs.
How many beers do you think had been consumed in the previous 12 hours before that?
Holy crap. He's gone dogs who used to be dogs and now we are dogs. So, listen, mate, he's celebrating his first championship, but I think he could have probably explained what his rival could have been a little bit easier.
I mean, the tangent that he went on, like, there was the first 10 seconds, it was funny enough, and then there's the fact he continued to go on with it. Like,
people were cheering, so
yeah.
he thought he was actually saying something pretty prolific, but I think he should stick to defending big men and not making speeches. So we'll have a lot to do with this series, I reckon. These NBA players love to make a fool of themselves, that's for sure.
Yeah, looking forward to it. But let's finish off the episode with another new segment, Punt of the Pod, or Punts of the Pod. We'll get a couple in here. Now, we were having a look at this before. I'll jump in first with a little bit of a safe one. It's not great value, but Lee took Jonathan Kuminga at pick 6 in our little mock draft here. I just flat out don't think he's going top 6 whatsoever. He can't go any higher than 6, so he's not going to go top 5, I can guarantee you that. It's whether the Thunder take him, like Lee did, at pick 6, and I just don't think it'll happen. I think he'll go either 7 to the Warriors or 8 potentially to the Magic if the Warriors want someone else who can contribute a bit more early on. But he's currently, his line, I think I had a bit of a...
I don't mind that.
Wowzers. Anyway, I think he's, at least I was honest about it. I think his position is 6.5, his line. Over 6.5 is $1.78. So maybe just chuck a 50 or 100 or, however much you've got to punt with on that. You're not going to get too much great value there at $1.78, but I think that is worth it. But you might have something that is a little more delicious.
Kai Jones, I said, is the guy I'll be watching, and I believe the punt is for him to go top 10, paying $3.70.
$3.75. Yes.
So I don't mind a hot take every now and then. So that will be my latest. Kai Jones, top 10 based off his potential. So gamble responsibly, I should say. Actually,
yes, that is true. If you don't want to go, this isn't great value either. I was looking. So Kai Jones' draft position line is 15.5. So that is quite a hot take for you, but in saying that his unders at 15.5 is $1.58, I wouldn't mind seeing that come into 14 or 13.5, and then I'd really smash the unders on that. I think you'll go top. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm going to be taking on your bet, but if people want to, maybe a little cheeky $10 or so, it might be worth it.
We'll put it up on socials, so you've got those available. But, mate, very exciting time to be an NBA fan, and we're all excited for what Star and Scrub will be.
Yeah, that's for sure. And thank you very much for everyone who may have listened. It is going to be a podcast version for the moment while we sort everything out, but hopefully turn to YouTube quite soon after a couple of episodes. But again, for everyone who listened, thank you very much for tuning in to the inaugural episode of the Star and Scrub NBA podcast. Cheers, guys.